Welcome back, guys. I'm Kendra.
Hi guys, I'm Mercedes, and this week we're talking about a cheesy love story, The Backup Plan.
The
Get it?
backup
Because he's
plan.
a cheese man.
It's so funny. Unfortunately, listeners, this is our very last episode of J.Lo month. We have been talking about J.Lo and her brilliant rom-coms this whole month, and we are wrapping it up with the backup plan. We're very excited to get into
Yeah.
it. But of course, Mercedes, we have to kick it off with our celebrity crush of the week. Who are you crushing on this week?
Kendra, I'm all about Oscar Isaac this week.
Mm,
He just hosted SNL and he was so good.
yeah?
My crush even just got bigger. I get so giddy when I see his face and when I hear him
Oh,
talk. I wish he had the beard though. I love when he has the beard.
oh, he shaved it for this. For
Yeah,
this.
he
Oh
shaved it.
no.
He's still
Oh
beautiful,
no.
but the beard is so much better. I love those pictures of him where on Twitter everyone was like, he looks like a English professor. Like he looks so good because he was in sweaters and like corduroy pants and like all
Yeah.
these layers. Oh my goodness, I love
Yes.
him.
He have you seen Scenes from a Marriage
Yes.
on HBO? It was
Yeah.
heartbreaking.
It
I
was
love that
yeah.
both him and Jessica went to Juilliard and they knew each other before. That's why their chemistry was just like,
Oh,
wow.
them in Cannes, the
Mm.
photos on the carpet when he's like grazing her arm with like his whole face. I the chemistry, man. The chemistry.
Absolutely love it. Okay, who am I crushing on this week? First of all, I have to give you context to why I chose this person because it just sounds like okay, this is a tacky answer. Chris Evans,
Oh my
who
goodness.
TikTok likes to call Christopher Jamal Evans. And so,
Famously.
yeah, exactly. So there was this TikTok that this girl made detailing why we love him so much. And what she did was she included this montage of all the times that he's helped women to stage to win their award. Like
Oh.
Regina King when she won, like he got off and
Hmm.
he offered her his hand, and then like Betty White too before she passed away, she won an award and he like escorted her up on stage, and it's just so sweet, and they like detailed and examined all of his mannerisms and why he did it the correct way and everything. And I was just like, this guy is so sweet. Like,
He is sweet. We'll have to do a Chris Evans rom-com soon.
oh,
'Cause
yes.
I feel like they're all underrated. I went through
I
a
think
binge
so
of them
too.
last year and I was like, I've never seen these.
Yeah. Oh, he has some pretty good ones. Yeah,
I
we'll have
know.
to add that to the list.
Oh, my favorite Chris Evans is Snowpiercer Chris Evans.
Ooh, that's a
Oh
good one. You know who I
gosh.
really like? I actually really like oh gosh, it's this one he did with Alice Eve called Here Again or Here We Go Again, something like that. Like he plays this
Ooh.
musician in New York City and he like has a
Oh,
trumpet or
he
something.
directed that movie.
Yeah, he did,
Yeah.
right? Yes.
Yes.
I really like him in that. I just feel like he's actually very versatile, and we don't ever
Hmm.
see that because we just see him as Captain America. But he actually is
Exactly.
very talented man. Um, all right, guys, we're gonna slide on into the TLDR. This is a time where we just like
Yeah.
to recap the movie for anyone who hasn't seen it. If you haven't seen it, you can buy it on Amazon, but I don't know if you really want to pay for it. So I'm not telling you to pirate the movie, but I'm also not telling you not to pirate the movie. So let's get into it. Of course, in the beginning, we are introduced to the main character, Zoe, played by J.Lo herself, during a unique doctor's visit. She is in the process of getting artificially inseminated. Now, she's made this decision because it's just something she's always wanted, and after hundreds of failed dates, she just hasn't met the right one. Zoe makes this decision despite the lack of support from her sister and her friends. Now, as she tries to hail a cab after her appointment, she meets the incredibly handsome Stan, played by Alex O'Loughlin. At
Yeah.
chance encounter, Zoe runs into him again at a farmer's market where we learn that he is a cheese farmer. Zoe, being the skeptic that she is, really doesn't like Stan at first, but is quickly charmed over by him through his talks of like his past, his future dreams, and just kind of getting to know him a bit better. But things take a turn for the worse when Zoe finds out that she's pregnant and tells Stan during a weekend getaway at his farm. Of course, as most men do, he doesn't receive the news well, but eventually comes around with the help of advice from a fellow dad he meets at a park, played by Anthony Anderson. It's only after Stan decides to stay that they learn they're actually having twins, which is just like such a big thing.
Hmm.
Zoe and Stan try to adjust to life together as a new couple and soon to be parents, but just realizing that they're gonna have like so many kids and everything, it's a lot, and I feel like Zoe kind of gets very insecure about that and pushes Stan away. Now, like in all classic rom-coms, she realizes how much of an idiot she's being and rushes back to win him right when her water breaks.
Oh my goodness.
I feel like the heart of this movie is about doing everything out of order. So naturally, after the twins are born, Stan proposes to Zoe and discover they might be right back on the pregnancy journey. So this is a 2010 film written by Kate Angela, who also wrote Sex Tape, and it's directed by Alan Pohl, who also directed episodes of The Newsroom and 6 Feet Under. So we always like to talk about like industry facts. I know you got a ton, Mercedes, so lay them on me.
Oh my goodness. So you may be watching and you think Zoe's apartment building looks super familiar.
Yeah.
And then it comes to you. She's neighbors with Carrie Bradshaw. The
Stop.
Yeah.
Are you
the
serious?
iconic-
That's the same building?
it's she's 2 doors down. So the Sex and the City building they're both on Perry Street. So one is like 66 and then one is like 70. Address 70 Perry Street. But Carrie Bradshaw famously lives on the Upper East Side, even though we all know this is in the Village. This is in the West Village. You can go see it. And once I saw her walking down that street, I knew I knew Carrie Bradshaw was right down the road. I was like, oh my god, okay. So it's like Perry and Bleecker.
Yeah.
And I also famously lived on Bleecker my first year in New York in grad housing. So I was like, I know.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I don't know if the listeners know, Mercedes, you used to live in New York, so you are a New York pro.
Yes.
That's so funny. So on when Zoe is in bed reading a book with Stan, she's reading the book What to Expect When You're Expecting. And it's funny because J.Lo also starred in that movie, which I actually really like that rom-com. Feel like we should add it to our list.
Ensemble.
It has like so it's the whole ensemble has like Cameron Diaz, Chris Rock. It's hilarious. I love the part with the dads, but we won't talk about
Yes,
that.
Chase Crawford's in it.
Oh my gosh. Hannah Kendrick's in it too. I really love that. I feel like go for it.
Oh my goodness. No, I was going to say this also coincidentally tells the story of Zoe having twins, and J.Lo had her twins 2 years prior to this coming out.
Yeah.
And I am a twin family. There's 7 sets on my mom's side. So I know a lot about
Whoa.
twins. My younger brothers are twins who were actually born, I think, the year before J.Lo's twins.
Stop.
is
Are you serious?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of twins. So every time I
Wow.
see a story about twins, I'm like, I know a lot about this. Yeah.
Killing two
There's
birds
so
with one
many
stone.
twins in my family that every year they take a twin picture at like family gatherings.
That's really cute though. That's really cool.
Yeah.
You know, twins run in my family as well, but not I don't know how many sets there are. I just know like pretty much all like most of my aunts have twins. But
Oh my
twin
goodness.
girls specifically.
Maybe we'll have twins, both of us.
I would love that, but I would
I
like
want twins.
I would like a fraternal twin. So I'd like a
Ooh,
boy and a girl. Yeah, just to, like I said, kill two birds with one stone. You know what's so funny though that I actually saw with this is so the screenwriter Kate Angelo and J.Lo were both kind of pregnant around the same time, and they met during a post-birth aerobics class. So that's how they had like personal ties to this film. Isn't that so
That's like
interesting?
Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants.
Yeah,
That's how all the
right?
moms met. Yeah, that's cute.
Post-birth
This was-
aerobics class.
Yeah. This was J-Lo's like return to movies because she'd been a mom for a couple years. She had released, I think, 1 or 2 albums during that time off. So this was her, I think I read that she had a lot of pressure and like a fear of judgment coming back to acting, which I
Really?
mean, I would too. Yeah. After years off, I'd be scared.
Well, I felt like this. Yeah, I think it was 5 years that she took a break,
Oh my
and I think
goodness.
this was a nice film to make your reappearance
Yeah,
with.
it's so fun.
Yeah, exactly. But now, guys, we got to move into time capsule. We always just like to recap where we were at the time that this movie came out and what we were doing. So again, this movie came out in 2010, which was 12 years ago. What were you doing, Mercedes?
crazy. Okay, so I do not remember the first time I saw it, but I can almost guarantee that it was on the E network because that's where I watch most rom-coms that are that I don't have on DVD or anything.
Right.
That's like where I get my binge because they always have them marathoning. It's either the Kardashians or rom-com on E. And for that I respect them because I love reality TV and I love rom-coms.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so This is very weird. I was a huge film buff growing up, and that's why I studied
Mm-hmm.
film in college. Like all through college too, I was a huge film buff, and I think it's just like as I've gotten older and I can't keep up with the times, I'm kind of like,
It's hard. It's hard to
yeah,
keep up.
it's hard, exactly. But it's so funny because the year before this movie came out in 2009, my New Year's resolution was to write down every single movie that came out that year that I saw a trailer for.
I
I
love
watched
that.
a lot of TV, so I was always seeing movie trailers. And so I'm pretty sure like during this era I saw it like right when it came out. I used to
Ooh.
spend okay, I had a little part-time job in high school where I worked at my church's nursery. I did that like a couple times a
Aw.
month. And so I'd make like I don't know, I'd make like $50.
Yeah.
And I would spend all of it at freaking Walmart in the $5 DVD section. And so I have
Mm-hmm.
all of these DVDs, and a lot of them are from 2010. I think it's because that like era was a time that I just bought the most movies. So I actually have it on DVD right here.
Oh my gosh. Kendra,
Yeah.
I used to do the same thing at Target. And then I loved the DVDs that were like 2-in-1 movies. So it'd be like, this is for girls' night. And it would be Mean Girls and like 10 Things I Hate
Exactly.
About You.
Exactly.
I loved those. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
It's
I
so
was the
funny.
same.
I know. Do you okay, so I also remember too during that year, like I was getting ready to get the hell out of high school. Like
Yes, you're a senior.
yeah, I was a senior in high school. I could not wait. And this movie came out in April. And I just remember that like this movie came out a month after I learned that I got into Syracuse University.
Aw.
So I was literally plotting my escape. I was like, how do I just make it through the next few months of high school? Like I remember during graduation, I literally walked across the aisle, like got my diploma and then left. Like I was not about it.
Oh my goodness.
I was like, I don't care about this. I just needed this so I could go to New York and go start my new life. Like
I love that. You were ready to go.
I was ready to go.
I
Exactly.
love it. I was in 8th grade. So I was finishing up middle school. I was 14. And I've mentioned this crush before, but in our Valentine's Day episode, he was a 10th
Oh,
grader. And I had the
yeah.
biggest crush on him. And oh my goodness, last week I just discovered one of those rare times that I go on Facebook, I discovered that he's engaged now. And I texted
Oh,
my best friend
really?
Kaylee and I was like, "Oh my God, he's engaged." And she was like, how do you know this?" And I was
Oh,
like, "Facebook."
wow.
Yeah, so it made me reminisce watching this, knowing that it came out in 2010, when that was like the
Exactly.
peak of my crush. So happy
Wait,
for
remind me,
him.
Mercedes, did you go to one of those schools where middle school and high school were combined?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
got it.
So yeah, I got like prime. I was like, one of the benefits is you get to see all the high schoolers when you're like 13, 14. So I
Yeah.
had like I wasn't even looking at boys in my grade because also I went to such a small school. Like there were like 80 kids in my grade and I
Oh,
knew them
wow.
from 6th grade to senior year. So
Yeah.
you're numb to them by the end. So I was
Interesting.
always looking at the grades above. Like I remember in 9th grade, my best friend and I, we were so in love with like 4 of the athlete senior boys. They played like every sport and we just thought they were so cool and so tall and like so beautiful. We would join clubs just so we could like be around them.
Yeah.
I loved. Yeah.
That's so cute. Oh my gosh. It's making me reminisce. I will say I don't miss high school. I don't necessarily miss that year. I just kind of gloss over it when I reminisce about it. I'm just like, that was a time where I just really needed to just be done.
Yeah, if I didn't have my group of friends, I would have had a miserable high school experience. So like thank goodness for my friends.
Yeah, thank you, friends. All the friends that carry us. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, guys, it's time for the Rom-Com Hall of Fame. Of
Yes.
course, though, Mercedes, we always got to roast this movie, which I just want to preface this with, while I have a lot of roast for this movie, I still very much liked it. So,
I had a good time watching. It's
Yeah.
not a movie that I think I'd rewatch often.
Okay.
But I'm glad I got the chance again. My main thing, as per usual with these
Yes.
J.Lo rom-coms,
oh gosh.
is
Say
J.Lo
it.
white? Is she ethnically ambiguous? Looking at her grandma, looking at
Her
like,
sister. Yeah.
exactly. It confuses me every time. I do not know why this woman always has to be white or just like a not Latina. Like that's the thing. It's so easy to just make her Latina. Like
Yeah,
you think.
exactly. It like I was about to be like, Mercedes, let's play the game. Guess what ethnicity J-Lo is in this movie? Like,
One of the top letterbox comments was just, "Is JLo white again?"
yeah.
And again, that's so true.
But then also too, like she gives birth to white children. Like,
The gingers.
yeah. I was like, I don't
The
think
twins.
genetically that is. I don't know. I don't want to. I
Yeah.
don't
I
want to say
mean,
that. That's true.
the redhead gene is strong, from what I've heard.
It
That
very much
recessive
is.
gene. Yeah.
So it's very funny because in the opening of this movie, we see that she asked one of her friends for his sperm. It's Eric Christian Olsen, who I
Yeah.
love. And I'm just curious, Mercedes, if you have a friend in your life, you don't have to say their name or anything, but I'm curious if you have a friend in your life who you would ask for their sperm to make a baby with. Like, what's their personality type? What's their characteristics? What do you like about them?
So, I will preface this with, did you know sperm donors, unless you know the person, like just a random sperm donor, like one of the requirements is they have to be 6 feet or taller. It's
Really?
one of my friends did research on this in our grad program for just a paper, and that's what we learned, and we were shocked.
Why?
But I think it's just one of those things that a lot of I don't know. It's some weird height thing. It's like any person who puts their height requirement on like a dating app, I guess.
I don't know how I feel about that.
I think it's shaming. And I'm
Yeah.
also somebody who's tall, who looks for taller guys anyway, but I still think it's pretty shady that they would do that.
I wonder if they do that because they know like that's a huge requirement for women, like
I
height.
think
And
so.
so they're just like, no one will want sperm if they find out all of these guys are 5'5".
Exactly. So with that in mind, I'm really trying to think of like tall people I know and like tall guys I know. I have a friend from college who I think I would ask just because he's like gorgeous.
Yeah.
Like on the very like superficial level, I think I would go with that because I'm like, if I'm the one raising it, like I'm smart. I have a funny personality. You'll be good with that. So let's go with the beautiful man.
Yeah. Well, dang, I had an answer, but now I feel like I have to change it based off of that. I too have a friend from college who he was very handsome and just always wondered why he was nice to me. Like, and I realized, like, after getting to know him better, I know just because, like, well, guys who look like him are not nice to girls. Just like, they're just not. It's just like that classic.
Was he ugly growing up? That's usually what happens.
Oh, no. You know what it was? He was just raised really well. He was just, I learned after like meeting his parents and just becoming friends with him all through college. He was just raised very well. He's very well mannered. He's funny. He's just an incredibly kind person, really generous, really thoughtful. And so I'd want, yeah, if I had to ask a friend for sperm, I would ask him.
I love that. It's so funny. Anytime I see like really hot guys with personalities, I'm like, you must have been ugly like in middle school or something. Like there's no other way. Like you had to have like at least an ugly year just to like gain some type of personality.
No, I mean, I don't think he, like if you saw him, you're like, he is a Greek god.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, he's beautiful. Okay, but back to the roasting this movie. I just have to say, this is a movie that I feel like I would rewatch. Or I do rewatch. It's one of, it's not up there, but I do put it on from time to time. I hate that it opens up on J.Lo's feet. I hate feet. I cannot stress
Also,
this
just,
enough.
Like, the lack of pedicure, and I know that's in her inner monologue. Like, oh, I should have got my. Yeah, you should have.
Yeah, but like it just proves like no one has cute feet, not even freaking J.Lo. I literally believe that. I think all feet should be covered at all times. Like I will wear open-toed shoes, but be fully aware that like my feet are not cute, even though like they're done and everything. Like I just don't like feet. I know some people have like a foot fetish. I have a foot phobia. I just think they're gross. Honestly, the second I hope I never see like Chris Evans' feet. Like I don't ever want to, because it automatically changes my opinion about you. It really does.
I completely understand that. I am a firm believer in the fact that men shouldn't wear sandals.
Yep. Yep.
Just because I don't want to see it. Everyone's feet kind of look like Voldemort's feet, like every man's feet.
Yes, exactly. Oh my God, that's the best description ever. That is what it is, because they don't know how to take. But even if they do, they're so weird. Like toes just grow weird. I don't know what it is.
And everyone's toes look different. I completely understand this.
Okay, good. I thought it was just me because I literally, and then sometimes too, I'm talking to a cute guy and I see these where I like can't, I like have to be like staring, like I
Do you
I
look
just
at
keep
shoes a lot, like on guys. Is that one of the first things you look at?
Okay, so it's not shoes. So the reason that my eyes kind of divert to shoes is because my favorite body part on men are calf muscles. And so they're already
so
there.
Close to the feet.
I know. I love
It's
calf.
risky
Oh my
business.
gosh. I love calf muscles, Mercedes. Let me not get started on that because that's a whole.
So funny.
So then I feel like my eyes just kind of like scroll. They're like, what's going on over
That's
there?
hilarious. I have a friend who like automatically looks at guys' shoes, and that's how
Hmm.
she won't talk to guys if they're wearing bad shoes.
Yeah, interesting. That's very interesting. Okay.
Hmm.
What other roast do you have? I know you have one more.
So, yeah, I have a couple more. One of
Hmm.
mine, it's small, but it's the single mom support group, the water birth scene, which I think is
Mm.
funny. But there are some interesting elements of it that I wish just weren't there. And it's the
Hmm.
drumming and the chanting that rubs me the wrong way
I
because it
understand that.
just feels culturally insensitive. It's supposed to be comedic, so it's really mocking like spiritual traditions from different
Hmm.
cultural backgrounds. And it's supposed to be like this comedic, absurd moment. And it's
Hmm.
just not my favorite. I don't know. I think there's other ways that this could have been a comedic scene. I like when like the three of those are just like the three women are just like singing and swaying. That's so funny. And just like the
Mm.
shouting, like any like loud noises and like when J.Lo falls in the pool, like those
Oh my
things are like
gosh.
classically just
So
funny. Like
funny.
physical comedy is so funny. You don't
Yeah.
need to like appropriate in some way.
Hmm.
And because other than that, I really like the support group. I think they're really cute. And I think like raising babies in like a community like that is really precious and like special. But
Exactly.
yeah, those are just elements of it that make me uncomfy.
Yeah, I think too for the listeners who haven't seen this movie, Melissa McCarthy is also in this movie,
Oh,
and
so funny.
she is so funny in it. She's absolutely amazing. Okay, I feel like this is a big roast that we often gloss over, especially in rom-coms. Can we talk
Hmm.
about the fact that Stan was basically stalking Zoe in the beginning? Like after meeting and then she gets out of the cab, he like follows her onto the subway, then he basically chases after her as she's walking out of the
Yeah.
subway. And I just feel like some people might call that harassment. And then he
Follows her to
calls
her
her.
workplace.
Yeah, exactly. He calls her twice at her workplace and then just shows up when he doesn't hear back from her. Like that's. And I feel like if he wasn't cute, he wouldn't get away with this. But I also feel
No,
like in
not
this
at
day and
all.
age, even if you are cute, you're still not getting away with that. That's
Yeah,
like harassment. That
it's
is
so
sketchy
true.
behavior.
And so many rom-coms gloss over that and call it like,
Hmm.
oh my goodness, persistent. I'm like,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
No. You need to listen to the person that you are pursuing.
Hmm.
And persistence doesn't mean anything if you're making people uncomfortable.
Exactly. You know what? Okay, I have to tell you about this troll comment that I got in one of my TikTok videos. I was talking about a dating app and how I don't like dating apps and I'll
Hmm.
probably never use one again. I said something about how, I just wish there were better men on dating apps. And some person, of course, with no profile picture, no followers or nothing,
Ugh.
was like, good men are on subways and buses, but y'all call it catcalling. And I was like,
Oh my God.
that is not the one or the two. That's not it.
No, absolutely not.
That
The
is
best,
not it.
talking about catcalling, the best catcall I ever got. One time I'm walking down the street with my friend and
Mhm.
we get saluted by this random man. He just salutes us in the street. And I was like, that's the best catcall I've ever gotten. No words,
Respect.
nothing, just salute.
Respect. Okay, one of the best catcalls I got was actually when I was in Israel. I took a mission trip there with my church, and a man approached my youth group leader and wanted to exchange a cow for me, and I was just very flattered. I was like, "Wow, I'm worth
A
an entire cow."
dowry.
I was like, okay, okay. Okay.
Wow.
My last one too is I feel like this has more to do with me than it does with the movie, but
Hmm.
I can hear ADR from a freaking mile away. And
Yeah.
just for our
Yes.
listeners who don't know what ADR is, it stands for automated dialogue replacement. It's just essentially when let's say you rap on a project and the audio isn't correct, so you have to go into a studio and re-record your lines. So
Yeah.
most of the time the camera is not on the face of the actor speaking because they can't get the lips to match up just right. But there are so many moments in this movie where I can just hear the ADR so well. And it's because I was trained by the head of our TV department at a previous job, and he would just like watch playbacks and catch it immediately. And
Yeah.
I feel like he was on another level, and now I feel like I'm on that level because I can literally hear it in everything. I was like, that was ADR, that was recorded afterwards, that was not the same room tone, like it.
Hmm. If any listeners out there love reality TV, I urge you to learn more about ADR because it makes the whole watching experience so much better because you're like, oh no, that was
Yeah,
recorded later. That's
yeah,
not real. That
exactly.
didn't happen then. And
It's
I
very
caught it
interesting.
too. There's one point where they don't cut away from Stan's face and it's just ADR playing and his mouth is just moving. And I for a moment I was like, is this a foreign film? What's happening? Is this dubbed?
You know, sometimes they do that because they didn't get the coverage that they needed in order
Oh
to
my
do the
gosh.
ADR properly. Because that's why most of the time when ADR is happening, you see the reaction of the person that they're talking to rather
Mhm.
than the actual person. So sometimes when they don't have that footage, they're forced to just try to get the lips to sync
It's
up
true.
correctly.
And
Doesn't
this
work.
was filmed like half in New York, even though the scenes in New York look like a fake New York, because then some
Mm.
of it was studio. So in my head, I'm like, what? Which parts were New York, really? Because some of this
Yeah.
are, it's
I can tell
confusing.
you what was fake New York. The fact that it's pouring rain when she gets into her cabin, and by the time she gets off the subway, her hair is done.
Perfect
It's all sunny
hair.
and bright. Like the
I
street
love
isn't even
that.
wet. I was like, come on now. It was just pouring down rain.
You've never rain and then suddenly have beautiful hair walking off the subway?
Well, I mean, All right, guys. I want to know, Mercedes, what was one of your favorite quotes of this movie?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so one of my favorite quotes is actually in the water birth scene, and
Yeah.
the woman giving birth is like, "Don't move, Zoe. You're my focal point." And I just think that's so funny because all Zoe wants to do is leave the room and like
Yes.
get out of there, and they're like, "No, you're her focal point." And I just that's so funny to
She's like,
me.
what does that mean?
Exactly.
um. Okay, so not to bring the mood down, but just like one of mine was a bit more serious. So when she
Mhm.
first joins the support group, she has this line where she says, I thought I'd be married with kids by now, but that's just not happening for me, so I guess it's time for my backup plan, which is kind of like an introduction to this whole movie. And
Yeah.
I just feel like that's exactly how I feel, Mercedes. I thought I would be married by 25. I thought I'd have kids by 27. I remember thinking in high school like, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to date so much in college because I'm just misunderstood here in high school and kids don't get me. Like I'm going to go to college and meet my people." And then when I graduated from college, I was like, "I'm going to be in LA where it's all people who have the same passion and drive and motivation as me." And now I'm almost 30 and I've still like never had a serious relationship or been in love, and I'm just like I never saw my life going like this. And it's so funny
Yeah.
because when I reflect back on my younger self, I'm like, the younger version of me would be so impressed with like what I've done with my life and
Yeah.
how I've lived my life. But I also feel like a big part of them would be really disappointed too, because it's like I'm still feeling the same way that I was when I was like 12, when I was 15,
Mhm.
when I was 25, you know? It's like those feelings around love haven't changed. And so I don't know if I'm at the point where I would go as far as to get artificially inseminated by myself as much as I want kids, but it is something that I've been like what is my backup plan, you know?
Yeah.
What's my backup plan if love doesn't happen?
I've had this conversation so many times with different friends at different ages
Mhm.
too. And
Mhm.
this has come up so much, I think, especially in the last couple years where things have just not gone to plan for anyone on
Yeah.
earth. So I think a lot of people just have time to think about this.
Yeah.
And it brings it, I don't know, I also think like the 20s are like such a stressful time for anyone
Mhm.
just because you're really trying to figure out and like redefine those plans that you made when you were younger, and like
Mhm.
really not trying to listen to the negative voice in your head that's like, you should be doing more, you should be so much more than this. And it's really
Mhm.
hard not to listen to it and like to get bogged down from it because it feels like such a heavy weight. But
Yeah.
I completely understand, you know,
Yeah.
and I
It's
hear you, and I'm here for you.
Thanks, Mercedes. I appreciate you. So you gotta tell me, would you swipe right or left on this movie if it came up on your Tinder feed?
I would swipe right.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, it's not a movie I would rewatch, but I had a good time, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a type of match. If I matched with this movie, I would never message it, but it would let the match sit there and I'd be like, yeah, you're there if I want
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, exactly. Just have it in your back pocket for a rainy day.
Exactly.
Okay, I would also swipe right on this movie. I am the exact opposite of you. I do watch this often. That's why I have it like on
I
DVD.
love that you have it on DVD.
I watch it often. I also laugh hysterically at Melissa McCarthy's character. I think she's hilarious. But something you'll notice about me, and like the listeners will notice more as we talk more about rom-coms, is I love rom-coms where you get to see into the relationship, right? As
Hmm.
opposed to only coming together at the end. So I know you like the enemies to lovers trope.
Yeah.
I don't love it, right? Because you see them like hating each other most of the time. I like, so if you think about like, okay, Going the Distance or Fever Pitch or Pretty in Pink or even
Yeah,
this
it's all
movie.
about the trajectory of the relationship.
Exactly. And I like that. That's what I prefer. And those are the kind of rom-coms I gravitate towards. And so I feel like that's why I like this movie so much and I rewatch it as opposed to other movies where, they don't even know that they exist the entire movie. And then at the end, it's like this big thing. So I just like to see into relationships. I'm nosy. That's what it is.
Oh my gosh, I'm so nosy too. I love it. And I totally get that. It's
Yeah.
fun to see inside people's relationships.
100%. Absolutely. Well, welcome, guys, to Couples Therapy. Mercedes and I just like to give dating advice for the characters on how they can improve their relationship. But first, Mercedes, I want to ask you. So there's a scene in here where Stan asks Zoe about her first kiss and her best kiss, and I want to hear about yours.
Oh my goodness. My first kiss was uneventful. It was unexciting. Like normal. It's just awkward as per usual for
Yeah.
people. And then my best kiss. That's so hard.
Mm.
I don't want to put a label on best kiss yet. You know what I mean? Like I don't
Yeah.
want that to be like that's my best kiss cuz
Yeah.
I'm only 26. There's so many kisses left to have. But I
I
think
feel
right
that.
now maybe like a really good memorable kiss for me was like a kiss I had a New Year's kiss I had in college
Hmm.
in LA. That was a really good. That was
In LA. That's
that was
why
a
it was
really good
memorable because
one.
it was here.
Yeah. How about you?
Okay, so my first kiss was with my neighbor Anthony. And I just remember being like, "Oh, he was really like he tasted really salty. Is that how all kisses are? Are they like
Oh
salty
my
like
god.
that?" Yeah, and it was
That's
so
so
awkward.
funny.
It was so awkward because
They're
like
always so awkward.
they're so awkward because you're like, what am I don't know what to do. But you
Yeah.
know what? I'm actually a very good kisser. I haven't kissed anyone in a really long time, but I am a very
Hell
good
yeah.
kisser.
Hell yeah.
I feel like. So I just okay. So we like to just obviously give dating advice, and I feel like there needs to be a lot of communication between Stan and Zoe. Am I right?
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. The
Okay.
communication is the biggest issue with these two.
I
It
agree.
stresses me out.
Yeah, and I feel like too they also need to practice patience because they get so angry with each other right
Hmm.
off the back and then just like storm out. And I feel like
Yeah.
they need to it's okay to walk away and take a breath, but come back in and right like I don't know. I don't like how they just leave in anger in the moment. I don't feel like
Exactly.
that is a healthy way to resolve problems, but I just wish they would like take a breath and try to process. And I also just hope for Zoe too that she lets go of those insecurities she has that and like just that
Hmm.
instinct to just push Stan away, Because I feel
Yeah.
like when you have been I saw this sorry, this is a TikTok. I saw this TikTok audio that talks about how people who have been single for a really long time are the hardest people to love because they've already created this life with just themselves that you have to give them a really good reason to want to integrate you into their lives.
Yeah.
And I can very much see that with Zoe. Like she's been so strong and independent her whole life and she has done everything by and so it's hard for her to accept the help. But I just hope that she gets to a place where she feels comfortable, and she learns to communicate her feelings and express them properly. And the same thing with Stan too, right? Because he like
Yeah.
expresses himself by like cooking pancakes in the middle of the night, and that's like very
It's so wild. If I woke up to that, I'd be so stressed. I'd be like, we need to talk.
I know.
Yeah.
Go
I
ahead.
think like a problem or like something that I'm hesitant to root for in this love story and really support them wholeheartedly is the fact that their whole relationship so far is really driven by like calling it quits and then coming back together. And I don't like how like consistently fragile they are, and all these minor miscommunications really stress me out, and they seem really stressful on them. That's a lot of and the whole time I was like, these twins are going to be the most stressful twins because this
Yeah.
whole pregnancy has been so up and down,
Mm-hmm.
and it's so clear that not Chloe, Zoe has like problems with trust and fears of abandonment from
Yeah.
experiences with like loss early in her life. And she's so ready to push Stan away at any hesitation or anything he says or
Yeah.
anything that he doesn't say. And that doesn't sit right with me. And she really needs to acknowledge that like And I don't know, he's really showing up for her in a lot of ways that I don't think most men would. If
Oh
most men
yeah.
heard that the girl that they're casually dating for a few dates is already pregnant with twins,
Yep.
I think most men would dip and be like, they're not mine,
Yep.
bye.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
And he's that's really impressive and really commendable. But I think the fact that toward the beginning he tells her and opens up to her about like being bad at follow through, good at ideas, bad at follow through, really
Yeah.
lingers in her mind. It would linger in mine. I'd be
Mm-hmm.
terrified.
Yeah.
I like how much of this relationship would be a good idea till it's bad follow through for him. You know, that would, so I
Mm-hmm.
understand her fear, but I know he turns it around with the farm to table restaurant business that he does.
Yeah.
So he does grow from that. I just, their communication is so horrible.
You know, one of the best pieces of dating advice I got from someone was when someone tells you who they are, believe them the first time. Right.
Exactly.
And I feel like that is very, as I reflect back on my previous relationship, I was like, yeah, I should have believed him when he said all these things, because then I could have saved myself a little bit of heartache.
When Stan describes the Zoe cheese as stubborn, suspicious, and distrustful of men, I was like, okay, so he described me.
Yeah, yeah. Really?
In
You
some
took that
ways.
personally? That was a
Not
personal
as
attack?
not as extreme as Zoe. I hope not. But I
Yeah.
mean, I did. When I heard it, I was like, "And what's wrong with that?"
Yeah. That's really funny because I feel like when we're talking about their love languages, like Stan definitely needs words of affirmation, because you can
Yeah.
see that the moments that he gets angry with Zoe the most are when she's using his words against him, right? So he's like, hey, I'm going to stay. And she's like, well, you can go if you want to, just like pushing him in that way.
Yeah.
And it just like keep like just reiterating that over and over. I think that really gives us kind of a clue that he really needs words of affirmation. And I think he gives acts of service. And you can see that by like him getting her takeout and just like cooking for her and
Yeah.
getting in the stroller and helping her with her dress, and just he does a lot for her, and she needs it, right? Like she's pregnant with twins.
Okay, this is a little side note, listeners. If you hear a dog barking, I'm dog sitting, which goes with this movie because Zoe owns a pet store. So if you hear a dog, it's for the theme, you
It's
know?
for the theme.
But yes, back to their love languages. I totally agree. Stan gives acts of service. From the very beginning, you could see that he's really trying to prove his commitment to Zoe through what he does for her.
Yeah.
The stroller is so good. And even like the fact that he reads all the baby books and he's like in night school and working too, like that's a lot to do and
Yeah.
commendable for him. He's trying to learn as much as he can. I think he needs words of affirmation because
Yeah.
like you said, his words get twisted around in Zoe's head a lot. And I
Yeah.
think he just needs encouragement back and positive words, and he wants to hear how loved he is and that he's also supported in that way.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like when it comes to Zoe's love language, like she needs acts of service, right? She needs that support just because she's pregnant, but because she needs rest from being so strong and independent her whole life. Something I've been reflecting on is when you are single and you're strong and independent, like you don't get to turn that off. That is something that it's on all the time. You always have to be strong. You always have to be independent. And I feel like personally for me, I just felt Zoe's struggle in a different way, because I feel very much like I just want to rest. I just need rest from being strong and independent. I want to be soft and I want to be gentle and I want to be calm. But it's hard because I don't have anyone supporting me. I don't have anyone in my life supporting me. So it's like I don't get that option to just like rest and stop. Like I always, if I don't do something, it doesn't get done. And
Yeah.
so I need to always be on. And so I get that that's why she needs acts of service. Like she just needs help. But I also feel like she gives physical touch, right? Like all the times that she kisses him and like holds his hand and all these things. And I feel like she gives physical touch. So I'm curious what you think.
Yeah, I think physical touch is a big theme in this movie.
Yeah.
You could see it from the get-go. They have really good chemistry.
They do.
So I'm glad that it follows through more so than just like physical connection. But we definitely needs acts of service and really deserves it. And I completely agree with you. Independent women rarely get a break.
Yeah.
and Yeah, and she wants Stan to really show up for her and prove it through his actions. And it takes a lot for her to like give somebody her trust, which is completely valid for
Rightfully so.
anyone.
Yeah.
Exactly. And yeah, but once she really acknowledges the way that he's like put in the time, she really accepts him. And I really love that. And I think she also in addition to physical touch, I think she also gives acts of service because in the way that like we learn about how she changed careers from corporate to really caring for animals and like owning this pet store and having her sweet little Nuts, her dog. I love her dog.
So
And
cute.
yeah, like she's so caring and we see that with like her grandma as well. And she just seems to forget that she needs and also deserves care too.
Yeah.
So I want her to remember that.
Exactly. We were talking about how a lot of rom-coms don't have a lot of character development. You're like, these characters don't know each other. I feel like we know Stan and Zoe pretty well, but I also feel like they know each other pretty well. So with that being said, I asked the $1,000,000 question. Do you think this couple lasts in 5 years?
I think they do. Stan is really committed from the get-go for Zoe, even if
Yeah.
we say that the persistence is a little much. Yeah, and if Zoe can learn to trust him specifically, then I say yes. Like if he's willing to stay with some random woman at this like home water birth and like be there and like hold the mirror, then he's in it for the long haul. Like that takes a lot.
I feel like I agree with you. I feel like if they can survive what they went through, they can survive anything. That is no
Yeah.
small feat. So I definitely see them lasting in 5 years, and I'm looking forward to the backup plan too.
Yeah, with the
12
third
years later.
baby.
Exactly. All right, guys, welcome to Heartthrob. We always just like to gush about our favorite people in the movie. But first, I'm curious, Mercedes, of everyone in this movie, who are you taking home to introduce to your friends and your family?
Oh my goodness, Kendra. I am taking inspiration from you from last week, and
Okay.
I'm taking Nuts the dog home. He
Yes,
is so
Nuts.
precious. I love Nuts. Every time they would like zoom in on him and he's like basically talking to Zoe. I
Yeah.
love those moments. And Zoe can come along too because I adore J.Lo and I adore this pup.
You like all of her characters. It's really fun. I love
Exactly.
that. Okay, so I'm actually switching it up this week because I feel like for the past few weeks I have not been impressed with our lead men in rom-coms.
Yeah.
So I really like Stan. I just feel like he's a type of combination of strength and ease that I really desire in a man.
Ooh.
Like I want a guy who can fix a leaking pipe but also come to bed and just like hold me ever so gently. And I feel like he's a perfect combination of both. And also too, I'm just so tired of insecure weak men. Like if
Yeah.
you are insecure, go to therapy. Don't project that
Retweet.
onto women and degrade them and minimize them
And
because
don't make it women's work to fix you and
Yeah.
like to give you these things that you should be learning in therapy.
Exactly. And while we never actually saw Stan in therapy, like I felt like he just had this kind of confidence about himself and like who
He was self-aware.
Yeah, exactly. And I really appreciate that about him, and it just seems so rare now.
Would you date a farmer? Would you live on the farm?
Okay, if he is an Irish farmer, yes, 100%. That's very specific. An Irish farmer, I would, because they're just like, it's just a simple way of life. They're just so, it's
That's
just
very
so,
wild mountain time of you.
yeah. Yes, I would date an Irish farmer. How about you?
I would I think I would date a farmer. In the finale of Euphoria, like I want to live on a farm.
Yeah.
I
Oh.
was melting at that, but it also, if you ever watch the Selena movie, this still goes along with the J.Lo month. If you ever watch the Selena movie, there's a scene where Selena's like, let's live on a farm with chickens and goats, and I'll be friends. And then soon after that is the end of the movie where she is murdered. So I think there's like something about like a farm and like envisioning a farm for me brings me back to that, and it just pictures Selena and it just makes me sad. So I don't know. I would love goats and dogs.
Yes.
If I could have a farm of goats and dogs, and I wouldn't call it a farm just because I'd be scared for the fate.
I do really like animals. So yes, I would have a farm with pretty much everyone. Horses, pigs, the lot. All right, Mercedes, we are going to play Mary Smooch Ghost. So we have Stan, Clive from the pet store, and then Anthony Anderson's character, the playground dad. So who would you marry? I know. We don't know his name. Who would you marry? Who would you smooch? And who would you ghost?
Okay. I would marry Stan. Honestly, I would ghost Anthony Anderson playground dad just because I didn't like all the things he was saying about fatherhood. I don't like the whole bit of like, oh yeah, it's so much work for dads, this is so miserable, and then it cuts to like a bunch of single moms being like, this is such a spiritual experience. Like, can we have some, I don't know, it reminds me of like whole sitcom dad being like, yeah, I hate my life, I hate my kids, I hate my wife type of thing. And that just makes me roll my eyes. But okay, I digress. I guess I would smooch Clive from the pet store, but he's not really my type.
I hear you. Okay, so yeah, I would 100% marry Stan. I would smooch Anthony Anderson playground dad just because I thought he was so funny. Like that part where his kid
is so funny.
Oh
my god!
With the turn,
so
and he's like,
funny.
"That's not this." Good.
He's so good in Kangaroo Jack. Do you remember that movie?
Yeah, I don't think I ever saw it though.
Really? You've never seen Kangaroo Jack?
I know. I think Anthony Anderson is hilarious. Yeah, and then of course I'm ghosting Clive. So sorry, Eric Christian Olsen. I really like you. I know. So listeners, before we wrap it up, we always love to bring in a pop culture moment. So I feel like, okay, this is a fun fact about me. I watch an episode of South Park every single day. I have for the past 2 years. I know. I love South Park. It is hilarious, and it makes me a better person. I shouldn't say that.
I love that.
So one of my favorite episodes is this episode where is just like not behaving, and so his mom tries to go to all these like nanny TV shows. You remember those like nanny TV shows?
Yeah.
And none of them are working, so they call in Caesar Milan, who's a dog trainer, and it's just funny because in this movie he is the one giving the talk in the pet store when Stan first shows up.
And then Stan's reading the book to the babies at the end. That's his book.
Yeah, exactly. So I just thought that was funny to see that, because that's like. It's a funny episode. If you haven't seen it's I think it's season 10, episode 7, maybe. I have like every season memorized too. It's really bad.
That's so impressive. I love that. Did you ever watch the Caesar Milan dog show?
I didn't. No, I'm not a huge reality TV fan.
I used to watch it with my mom because I think it was on TLC or like Animal Planet, and those were like our jams back in the day. We loved it. Oh my goodness. Okay, so Zoe and Stan both have very wholesome careers, like pet shop owner, cheese man, very sweet. And over the holidays, I started following this bot on Twitter called the Hallmark Movie Bot, who creates different romance plots with the most random careers, like yarn shop owner or commitment phobic violin maker. And we know that rom-coms are notorious for having like very wholesome or like cool girl careers. So Kendra, I want to know what your dream rom-com career was if you were a rom-com lead.
Oh, wow. Oh, gosh. Okay. I think it would have something to do with weddings or babies.
Ooh.
I would want to be, I don't know if I want to be a wedding planner because that's stressful, but I'd love for people to just be like, hey, I'm thinking this for my wedding. Do you like it? And I'd be like, yeah. Like a wedding consultant. I don't know. And then for babies, just like, I don't know, like I teach I teach people how to make their babies laugh or something. I don't know. I just really like babies.
That'd be cute. You could be a little like wedding photographer, nursery photographer, like for baby's first photo shoot.
That is a good. That's a good one. That's a good career. Yeah. That's what I would want to do.
My friend used to do photography at a department store, and she was always the best at making the babies laugh. She's so good with babies, so I always think of her when I think of that.
What would your job be?
Okay, I think I would want to do like. I would want to be a florist, but I'd also want to do like a flower shop hybrid like bookstore. So I could do like floral, like I could design bouquets for people who were like also buying books, and I could coordinate like the aesthetics of the book. I could make them like coordinate with the flower bouquet, so it could all design together. So it would be like kind of like if you needed like a very specific type of gift. And I could be like, oh, you want this? You want a floral design for Little Women or something like that? It'd be cute.
That'd be really cute. But of course, listeners, we want to hear hear your thoughts. What would be your dream rom-com career? What do you think about the movie The Backup Plan? Is J.Lo's ethnicity up for interpretation? You can slide into our DMs at Meet Cute.
Yes, I've been Mercedes. You can find me at MercedesGB11. And if you're looking for any new rom-coms, follow Meet Cute wherever you listen to podcasts, and follow Meet Cute on socials everywhere.
Yeah, and I'm Kendra. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at KenTedHollywood. We will see you guys next week.
Bye.